Welcome to video 5 of the Rock, Paper, Scissors series. Where we left off was we started programming with JavaScript with the onEvent, so we are going to wrap that onEvent code up in this video. And what is normally, not normally the case, but is the case often with me is when I do not actually diagram things out on paper, which my class will do, then things are forgotten, and that's okay. We could go back and fix them. So right now, if you take a look on the screen, this is the finished product. We've got two sections here. One that says scissors beats paper, so it's a comparison. And then the other is either we win, try again, or it's a tie. So if we go back to our project, I want to head back to design momentarily right now. And notice we only have one here, results output. So what I'd like to do is click on that in design, and let's use our duplicate friend. So now you notice that text area 1 comes up. We want to just kind of bring that up right above it and keep it there. And now we're going to come in and rename the ID. Okay, we're going to rename the ID to compare output. And because we use duplicate, a lot of this will be similar. We want the width to be 320 in pixels and the height of this HTML element to be 50 pixels. We want the X position to change slightly to 4. I think where I dragged it on the screen it was 2, but so we're going to keep it at 4. And the Y position to be 350. The color should stay the same. The font family should stay the same as well. And we want to change the font size from 30 to 20. And I think that should do it. So right now, we should have, if you hover over that bottom, we have one section called compare output and another called results output. Okay, so that's going to play an important role coming up in the next section. Okay, so now let's head on back to our code. So upper left-hand corner, let's leave Design Toolbox and head on over to our code editor. So select code, and here's where we left off. Okay, so now just a little refresher here. I want to do a couple of things first. Notice this comment at the bottom. I want to drag a comment block at the very top here, and we're going to type in declare global variables. Comments are, as you know, not read or processed by the JavaScript engine, but it is there for us to kind of section off certain things. So we're going to drag another comment over here, and we're going to type in rock icon event listener. So the reason why I type that is this event listener, starting at line 5 to line 8 right now, only addresses when the user clicks the rock icon. So it assigns rock to a user choice. It then generates, or will generate, we haven't written the function yet, but it will generate a choice by the computer. So now we have a user choice, and from this rand computer function, we'll have a computer choice. Now we want to compare them. And that's where the decision-making process comes in. And we are going to use the if statement. And we're going to use, let's see. Let's drag this one in first. Just the basic if statement. Let's bring that in right underneath here. Now, as you recall from working with JavaScript earlier, what the Boolean condition is going to be put inside of those parentheses right now where my cursor is blinking. If that condition is true, then it will run this block of code. So remember now, if this event listener is selected, the rock, now we're going to have user choice to be rock. Then we don't know what the random computer choice will be, but it could be one of three things. If it's rock itself, then we have a tie. So let's address that first. remember, the Boolean expressions are going to be found in the math toolbox. So let's click on that. And we have an assignment or a comparison of equality. So remember, 1 equals means assignment, 2 equals means compare of equality. Let's drag that in to our if statement. Oops. So I'm going to get that double equals. And let me just hover over that. I apologize. There's our equality operator. Test whether 2 values are equal. Returns true if the value on the left-hand side of the expression equals the value on the right. So remember, ultimately, from a Boolean test, all we're getting back is one of 2 responses, either true or false. So what do we want to be true? Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but inside of the rand computer function definition, we're going to have another variable called computer choice, just like user choice. So guess what? Hasn't been declared yet, so we've got to go all the way back to variables. And let's do the exact same thing we did for user choice. Let's drag the second variable declaration block, not assignment. And I'm going to put this right underneath user choice. And we're going to type in computer choice. So right now, let me spell that a little bit better. So right now, in lines 2, 3, and 4, we're basically saying, hey computer, please, hey JavaScript engine, please just allocate space for something called user choice, something called computer choice, and then also allocate space for something called icons, but I'm going to tell you what's going to occupy that space right now, and it's rock as a string, paper string, and scissors as a string. So line 4 is a variable initialization, 2 and 3 is a declaration. There's no assignment yet. Okay, that assignment is going to be taken in account when we call the random computer function, and that will happen when we actually write that. We haven't done that yet. That's going to be in a future video. Now, what we need to have happen here, if computer choice, what do you think? We're inside the rock icon. If computer choice is actually rock as well, then what do we want to have happen? Well, we're going to have a tie, right? So let's address the tie scenario first. Okay, so we come to the first piece of our code where we now are going to ask results to be displayed back onto the screen to the user. So remember, right now our lines 6 to 12 only addresses things that are going to be happening in the JavaScript engine once that user makes that one click. But now we want to go back to UI controls. And not exactly the way it is in JavaScript. Again, this is a slight modification for AppLab, but it is going to be a set property function. So if I hover over set property, it's a little, use your slider to scroll all the way down. Set property needs an ID, a property, and a value. So 3 different parameters. Let's actually grab that. And we're going to put that inside of this if statement. So if we get a true statement here, computer choice equals rock. Remember, inside of this user, rock is already chosen by the user. So if those 2 are a match, we want the compare output to be addressed. So let's just refresh our memories here. If I move my cursor back over to the user interface, what we just addressed, again, I didn't address it with the original user interface. We had to make one modification. We needed to duplicate that space. So the top one is called compare output. Notice the ID. The bottom one is called results output. So in that top one, we want to have the comparison. Scissors beats paper, rock beats scissors, or it's a tie. Or it's a match, I think is what we used. So we want to change text So property is the compare output. What do we want to change? What value we want to change? Text. And then what do we want to actually have that text say as a result? And my spelling is not too good. It's a match. Okay. So what that will do is in compare output, remember we left this blank as far as the text block, but it is a text block. We just left the actual text blank. This is where it's going to get filled. So it's a text block waiting for something. If rock, the user choice, matches the computer choice, we'll get a true statement here. Then compare output will get that text printed out. Then if we come back to the results output is it's either going to be a win or a tie and so on. So let's head back here, drag another set property into that section. And the ID now is not compare output. We want results output. So let's pull that down. And we want results output right here. Again, this is another text block. So the property that we're changing is text. And then the value, we're literally going to put what we want to see as a result of the tie. Okay, and we're going to type in U. Tie, all caps with an exclamation. Okay, so that's what happens if user choice rock, which is retrieved from line 7, matches the randomly selected computer choice rock. We get it's a match and you tie. But there's two other possibilities here. So the other possibility is, well, what happens if computer choice equals scissors? So we want another else if. So take a look right here at the very bottom of that if statement. There's a plus button there. Hit that plus button, and we want to hit it twice. Now the reason why we hit it twice is it's not one or two things, it's one of three things. So here we're going to bring in that equality section again. So let's go back to our math statement. Drag that double equals in. And computer choice here, we're going to address if it is scissors. Now another common thing here is spelling does matter. So you want to make sure that the spelling that we're putting into these values matches the array spelling on line 4. All right, so if computer choice equals scissors, now we want to go back, and that's going to change our output down here. So what happens, our first set property, we're going to mirror basically what we did in the first conditional. Let's go down and grab another set property. And we're going to use compare output first. That's the one on top. Again, we are changing the property of text. Notice you could change, if you you could change any of those CSS properties as well. So JavaScript allows you to change the output, the text, or any CSS dynamically without having to go into the code each and every time. So we're still changing text, which is a string, and let's actually put our statement in. Okay, so here we're still in the rock icon event listener, meaning the user chose rock. So now, if the computer chooses scissors, we come back with a comparison: rock beats scissors. Okay, that's for the comparison. Now we want to do the same. We want to drag a set property in here. And we want to address the last piece, the results output. Same thing, this is a text property value we're changing, but we could have changed anything, background color, you name it. And this one, you win in all caps. Okay, so there's one other choice. Can you guess what that is? That is if computer selects paper. Now, we don't need another else if, because if computer choice wasn't rock, 10 and 11 will be ignored. Remember, the block of code in an if statement only runs when you get a true statement from that Boolean comparison inside of the parentheses. So if computer choice doesn't equal rock, line 10 and 11 are ignored. If computer choice doesn't equal scissors, line 13 and 14 are ignored. We have only one other possibility. We don't have to put is computer choice equal to paper. That's all that's left. So we're going to drag over set properties for these two here. And follows suit with the two choices above. Computer output, text, and now, what are we going to say here? Paper covers rock. So that's our comparison output. Paper covers rock. Now we want to drag the set property over one more time. Pull down that ID, and we want the results output. Same thing. We're changing the text value. So the string output here is going to be try again. Okay. So let's take a quick step back to see where we're at here. Okay, recall that this only is if the user clicks on the rock icon. User choice gets the value rock from the list in line 4. Random computer is going to be a function we're going to write the code in a future video. That's going to determine which choice the computer made by random selection. Then we've got 3 comparisons to look at. Computer choice, if the computer equals rock, the user already chose rock in this on event. Now it's a match and you tie. If it doesn't equal rock, 10 and 11 are ignored, and we come down to, okay, then another possibility is computer equals scissors. What happens here? Well, now the comparison output will read rock beats scissors, and you win. If that it ends up being false, line 13 and 14 is ignored. And finally, the only other possibility here is computer must have chosen paper. But we don't need that comparison, because by process of elimination, that's it. So we just have an else statement. Meaning if all the other if statements were false, this is the only one that must apply. So we want paper covers rock and try again. Okay, so believe it or not, we have successfully coded the on event. We do have some more work to do here. Mainly, we want to go back. Notice that line 8 and see the triangle over here. So if I could hover over that or click on it. it says rand computer function hasn't been declared yet. So that's another task that we have ahead of us. We actually have to put JavaScript in that function so that it randomly selects for the computer. So that's going to happen in the next video. Thank you for spending time on this one. You have just programmed your first on event. Congratulations. We will be back and see you in the next one.